8 tips to optimize your SQL queries for improved database performance. SQL, or Structured Query Language, is a standard programming language for interacting with databases. In order to ensure optimal database performance, it is important to optimize your SQL queries. Optimal database performance can be done in a number of ways, including ensuring proper indexing, using bind variables, and avoiding unnecessary data retrieval. By following these 7 tips, you can help improve the performance of your database. 1. Choose the right table for your query. When it comes to optimizing database performance, you need to be careful which table you use for your query. There are a few things to consider when choosing the right table. The table should have as little data as possible since this will speed up your query. The table should have a low number of indexes since these will also speed up your query. The table should have a small number of columns since these will also slow down your query. 2. Use indexes and views correctly. Indexes and views can be incredibly helpful when it comes to database performance. By correctly using indexes and views, you can improve the speed of your queries by eliminating the need to search through large portions of your data. Additionally, indexing can also help to improve the accuracy of your data by ensuring that only relevant information is returned by your query. If you're unsure about how to use indexes and views effectively, consult with a database expert or ask a question on forums like Stack Overflow. 3. Avoid joins in queries that don't need them. Joins are one of the most common operations in a database. With so many tables and columns to compare, it can be tempting to include a join in your query. But sometimes, you don't need a join. For example, if you're querying for the value of a certain column in 2 different tables, a join will return the data from both tables. But if you just need the value of one column from one of the tables, you can use an index instead. 4. Use aggregates when calculating results. Another common operation in a database is calculating aggregate values, such as sum or count. Rather than calculating these values individually for each row in your table, you can use aggregates to speed up your query. For example, you could use an aggregate function like count to calculate the total number of rows in a table. 5. Optimize your SQL statements. SQL statements are the commands that tell your database what to do. They are written in a specific order, and they must be executed in the correct order. Improperly executed SQL statements can cause your database to slow down or even crash. There are a few things you can do to optimize your SQL statements. First, make sure you use the right keywords when selecting your data. Second, avoid using unnecessary parentheses and brackets. Finally, keep your statement short and simple so that it can be processed faster by the database server. 6. Tune your database settings. There are a few important things to keep in mind when optimizing your database settings. First and foremost, you should make sure that your database is configured properly for the type of information that you are storing. Second, you should pay attention to the way that you are querying your data. Finally, you should make use of indexes whenever possible to boost performance. 1. Make sure that your database is configured properly for the type of information that you are storing. For example, if you store financial data, make sure to configure your database to use a proper SQL dialect and hardware configuration. Additionally, be sure to size your tables correctly and index them as necessary. 2. Pay attention to the way that you are querying your data. Queries can take a significant amount of time to execute, so it is important to choose the right ones. For example, avoid using scans or joins on large tables if possible. Instead, use select statements that return only a subset of the data required. 3. Finally, make use of indexes whenever possible to boost performance. Indexes can help speed up queries by providing instant access to specific rows in a table without having to search through the entire table. While these tips are not guaranteed to improve your database performance, they are sure to help if you take the time to implement them. 7. Monitor and debug your queries. There are a number of ways to improve database performance. One way is to monitor and debug your queries. This involves tracking the execution time of individual SQL statements and examining the data being accessed. By doing this, you can identify areas where the query is taking too long to run or where it is accessing data that is not necessary. You can also optimize your queries by using appropriate indexes, choosing the right table for the task at hand, and making sure you use proper SQL syntax. 8. Test and validate your code. One way to improve database performance is to test and validate your code. This means making sure that the code works as intended and that it doesn't cause any unexpected problems. Once you have this code verified, you can optimize it to improve performance. Conclusion. In conclusion, following the Emergent Software Team, a SQL Server consulting service to optimize your SQL queries can help improve your database's performance. Indexing your data, using the right data types, and avoiding subqueries can make a big difference. Keep these things in mind the next time you're working with a database.